All right, we're continuing the discussion on epilepsy and seizure awareness. Our next guest is no stranger to our studio. I am chatting with Nicole Vanderpool, who is the president of the NGO, the Seizure Awareness Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here again to share with us, all the pertinent information when it comes to epilepsy awareness and such. So the first thing, what is epilepsy?
Okay, epilepsy is a neurological disorder that is characterized by seizures. So the next question is, what is a seizure?
Right.
Yes. So a seizure is a disturbance in the normal electrical activity of the brain. It can last anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes, depending on the part of the brain affected. It can be as inconspicuous as a blank stare or a dazed or confused look, or it can be as obvious as a violent tonic-clonic convulsion.
Wow. So how does epilepsy affect the person?
Many people are affected different ways. Some people you will have, some people are very high functional, as you would know, they can hold down jobs and they can go to school. And some people are affected in another way, in a more adverse way, where they are unable to go to school, unable to even respond. They might be in a catatonic state, depending on how many seizures they get per day.
Oh, so there's a various number of rates of which seizures occur with each individual, and it's specific to them.
Yes, what we call simple partial seizures, those can occur many times a day. I mean, up to hundreds of times a day.
Hundreds?
Yes, and we have tonic-clonic, which is what we call in our vernacular fits, where you see somebody convulsing. Those can happen a few times a day as well. But most people who are epileptic are on anti-epileptic drugs, which are, they have relatively good seizure control.
So the anti-epileptic drugs that you mentioned, how does it affect the person itself? Does it decrease the number of seizures? Does it improve their quality of life?
That's the idea. So when someone is placed on anti-epileptic drugs, it's supposed to control the seizures or the epilepsy, and most people are still able to have a good quality of life when placed on anti-epileptic drugs.
Have you, from your experience and hearing the stories of other people, have you encountered stories where people have total control of seizures with the use of anti-epileptic drugs, so that they have, once they are using their proper dosage within the time they're supposed to, they haven't experienced seizures since?
Yes, I have had a few people, I know of a few people who have very good control, very well controlled. They haven't had seizures in years, 12, maybe 20 years. And there are some who still strive every day for that seemingly elusive seizure control, even though they're on anti-epileptic drugs.
Are there other ways in which epilepsy can be treated?
Yes, of course, there are natural ways being experimented on that people have used. A change in diet, of course, and lifestyle is also recommended with any lifestyle disease or medical condition.
What type of lifestyle changes would somebody typically take when they are those who have epilepsy?
Sure, of course, the diet. We try to stress staying away from foods containing MSG, monosodium glutamate, because this is an excitotoxin. So it more or less stimulates the brain to death, basically.
Right.
And aspartame, which is the sweet counterpart of MSG.
Right, the artificial sweetener.
Yes, definitely. So those are known neurotoxins. So we try to ask people to stay away from. And it's very difficult because it seems as though everything contains either MSG or aspartame, but a more natural diet, plant and fruit and stuff like that. Of course, taking your medicines, exercise, lots of sleep, anything to promote good nutrition and health.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, we've had guests in the past relay their story. They've told us their story of especially those who were involved in church. And there were people with the perception that those who suffer from epilepsy and they display seizures in the form of what we call fits, they may be demon-possessed and stuff like that. How do we go about educating people that this is a medical condition and not necessarily something of the other realm?
Definitely. This is one of the obstacles we face on a daily basis as an NGO. People are diagnosed with it, and then they go to church, and somebody, the leader tells them, oh, this is a possession, demon possession. Or we have people who still believe that epilepsy is contagious. So they try to stay contagious, yes. Some people believe that you can catch epilepsy.
Really?
Definitely.
What do you say to someone like that?
You just educate. I believe all the stigma and the discrimination attached to epilepsy can be dispelled once we educate, and this is what the Seizure Awareness Foundation is about.
So how do we help raise awareness about epilepsy?
Okay, great. A global microscope is placed on epilepsy and seizures mainly twice per year. March 26th, which is the last time I think we were here,
Right.
Epilepsy Awareness Day, and we had our commemoration of that on the Brian Lara Promenade. So it's a global time where people focus on epilepsy treatment and, of course, raise funds for research and development. Also, November is Epilepsy Awareness Month. So this is a time of course, to wear purple and to also educate and advocate on behalf of persons living with epilepsy. But for us, epilepsy awareness is all year round. We have our Seizure Smart tours that we work in connection with the Ministry of Education to go to the different schools and organizations or anywhere that we are invited to have our Seizure Smart lectures about epilepsy and seizures.
All right. So say if I have a loved one, a friend, or even a stranger, if I see someone experiencing an epileptic fit, what do I do as a bystander, an onlooker, to help them out?
This is a great question, Carrie. Most people want to help. They of course they have this myth that you put something in the mouth of somebody who's having a seizure. That's the one thing that you don't do. What do you do? We have a little acronym that we use to help people remember to take action, and it's just that, ACTION, A meaning assess the situation, and you can remove any sharp objects or tables, chairs that they might hit their head on. C, cushion their head. Most people, first aid is needed when somebody's having a tonic-clonic convulsive seizure. The other types, not really, just make sure that they don't fall and hit their head.
Right.
So that's why you cushion their head. Any ties or neck scarves, you would try to loosen them because the convulsion could tighten it. Any glasses, remove them because it could break and go into the person's eyes. So we are at T. So time the seizure. This is very important. Seizures can go on. We know of the unexpected death of Cameron Boyce, who died of SUDEP. That's sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. So seizures can go on and on until they can cause a death. So it's important to time the seizure so that in the event that you have to give this person over to the emergency, that you can say, okay, the seizure lasted 45 seconds to 3 minutes or whatever. Most people don't like to wear identifying bracelets, but it's necessary sometimes for a stranger or onlooker to know that I have epilepsy. We see it many times for asthma, allergic to penicillin. So we want to bring those as well so that people, if they are not ashamed or afraid of stigma, would wear them so that people will know who to call in case of emergency.
That's right.
And when the shaking phase of the seizure is over, you turn the person in the recovery position, which is on the left side, so that any drool, sometimes people drool or froth at the mouth or they vomit. So anything that has gathered into the mouth will, come out of the mouth. And N, you never put anything in the mouth of somebody, any gag, spoon, cloth, because most likely you'd have to pry that open because the person's jaw is probably locked if they're having a convulsive seizure. So you never put anything in the mouth of somebody who's having a seizure. If you don't know, if it's their first time, if they're pregnant, if the seizure happens in water, you take them to the ER, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Nicole Van Der Poel, President of the Seizure Awareness Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago, thank you for joining us this morning and sharing all this pertinent information on seizures and epilepsy, because we need to raise awareness and we need to ensure that more people are educated so that the myths are dispelled, and that if we are in the public and happen to see somebody who's experiencing an episode, we are better able to help them. So thanks for sharing this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to take a short break and we come back with much more. Stay with us.